Good evening from Kensington Gardens in London. Dr. Carl Jung said that the world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, the world will tell you. And I realised for a long time I've forgotten who I was. And that was a long time before my suspension came along. So it's kind of fitting. I'm back in London for the first time since 1986, and I've spent the day relearning how to use the underground, and I'm pretty happy with how quickly I picked that up. So this is kind of where I've started my pilgrimage. Had a great day today. I went to St. Bartholomew's Church. Which was amazing, just stunning. So old, so beautifully preserved. I went to Southwark Cathedral, which was really beautiful. And of course I went to St. Paul's Cathedral, which is just blows my mind what a stunning piece of architecture that is. I also went to the Ayr Ancient Baths, which is in an old building, I think it's in Charing Cross, where the author of Peter Pan lived for a long time, and a lot of the underground tunnels there had come from the Thames River and were used to deliver spices from the boats into this part of London. So they've now built a whole lot of underground hot and cold pools and steam rooms. I also went to the Bike Shed Motorcycle Cafe because I like motorbikes, and now I'm out here to make a quick video about the benefits of getting up for the sunrise while the sun is going down. But this morning when I was going to do the talk, I was still really jet lagged because I just flew over from Brisbane yesterday. So let's talk about why tomorrow morning I'll be up long before sunrise. So you can kind of summarize the benefits of getting up before sunrise as CME, continuing medical education. So, and there's a B on the end, but I couldn't fit that into the mnemonic. So CME. C stands for circadian rhythm and candida biofilms. So the first and most obvious benefit, obviously, is that as we've discussed before, the red light in the morning, which is there even if it's cloudy, still a lot of red light getting through, sets the circadian rhythm for the day. So it uses DHA, which is one of the omega-3 fatty acids in seafood. And in fact, last night I had for dinner scallops. It was a Mediterranean meal, scallops with pomegranate and green peas. So what are the benefits of the scallops? Well, I'm getting the DHA fatty acid, which turns the energy of light into a chemical energy. It's the only molecule that can do that. I'm also getting lots of taurine, which, as we discussed last week, is the most common amino acid in the body, which optimizes mitochondrial function, largely by protecting it from deuterium, but also creating lower deuterium water in the body. And also, along with good probiotic bacteria in the gut, it produces sulfomucins, which protect the gut wall lining and helps to reduce the chances of gut cells turning into cancerous cells. So I got a bit sidetracked about my dinner last night. Oh, and of course, the pomegranate. Pomegranate is, as I've discussed in previous videos, contains urolithin A, which is a very, very unique substance which also optimizes mitochondrial function and appears to increase longevity. So the first C for continuing medical education on the benefits of sunrise is circadian. So it helps set the clock for the day, so all our organs in our body know what time of the day it is and when they're meant to be performing their function. Also, one of those benefits, which we'll talk about in a sec when we talk about mitochondria, is that part of the circadian rhythm is it's telling my body that I better start mobilizing fat from fat cells to start providing me energy in my mitochondria for the day, because as we know, fat is the preferred fuel of the mitochondria, And of course, if you're not getting that red light signal in the morning about the circadian rhythm and it's time to start producing energy, it's going to be very hard to mobilize fat from fat cells for the rest of the day. C is also for candida biofilms, and we discussed a few months ago when I did that video on the red arrow walk in Cairns that red light helps dissolve candida biofilms in the body, and the biofilm is the layer of snot which microbes, pathogenic microbes like candida, surround themselves in to protect them from attack from the immune system. M is for melatonin and M is for mitochondria. So in terms of melatonin, we talked a few weeks ago about how this 3 billion year old hormone, unchanged in 3 billion years, not only helps induce sleep, but it also prevents cancer cells from using the Warburg effect to increase the energy production to help them spread. So cancer cells, which prefer anaerobic metabolism producing lactate, which also acidifies the environment, which helps them grow faster, and it gives them more energy because the lactate pathway, the anaerobic pathway, the Warburg effect, seems to provide them energy faster. Now, the interesting thing, of course, is that cancer metabolism returns to normal overnight when there's lots of melatonin around. But the other really interesting thing is, and this is all relatively new information, the Warburg effect, which was discovered by Dr. Otto Warburg, that was in the 1920s, I think, 1930s. So we've known about the Warburg effect for a long time. But what we didn't know until recently was that 95% of our melatonin production actually comes from our mitochondria. We thought it all came from the pineal gland. But the pineal gland only really provides melatonin for the cerebrospinal fluid. But we produce a lot of melatonin from our mitochondria. In which case, we don't just have to rely on melatonin from the pineal gland. So if we're getting that sunrise red light, which lots of us don't now, then we're producing melatonin throughout the day as well. So, and that's just a theory, that maybe if we're producing more melatonin during the day from our mitochondria, then we're going to prevent the Warburg effect during the day as well, not just at night. M is also for mitochondria. Now, interesting thing here about the mitochondrial red light is that red light is what's known as a cytochrome C chromophore, which means the red light speeds up cytochrome C passage of electrons, which means we create more ATP in the mitochondria. So if we go back to a couple of weeks ago when I discussed how cytochrome C is part of the respiratory proteins in the mitochondrial membrane, that's methylene blue does the same thing but a different way. Red light speeds up cytochrome C, which means we're passing more electrons faster through the electron transport chain, creating more energy. So you see the sunrise in the morning, that red light triggers your mitochondria to start producing more ATP, which they're going to need more electrons to do so. Where's their preferred source of electrons? Well, that's from fat. So once again, there's the benefit of the red light in the morning as well, because not only do you increase your ATP production, but you also mobilize fatty acids stored in your fat cells to provide the electrons to pass through the mitochondria faster to create more energy. More energy, more weight loss. And that's also a really good example of what we talked about a lot, which is the entourage effect. So you saw the entourage effect with scallops, where you're getting the taurine and the DHA working together. Now you're also seeing the entourage effect with red light and mitochondrial function, where you're getting increased release of fatty acids, as well as getting increased electron flow through cytochrome C. So what's the entourage effect? Dr. Fit, Dr. Robbie Mitchell and I used to talk about that quite a bit in our old videos. So the entourage effect is defined as the full expression of the therapeutic value only emerges when their compounds are allowed to work in concert. Okay, So there we have a quick summary of the benefits of getting up to watch sunrise. Oh, I forgot. E for education. E means we're exercising first thing in the morning. And because I'm a proponent of intermittent fasting, I don't really have anything substantial to eat. I have a little bit of healthy fats in my coffee in the morning, but I don't have any substantial food until 12 o'clock. And that's a pretty strong rule with me, that it's very, very unusual circumstances where I eat before 12. So I'm exercising when I'm fasting. Well, what do I need when I'm exercising when I'm fasting? I need energy. Where am I getting that energy from? Again, there's the entourage effect. I'm getting the energy from improved mitochondrial function because of the red light working on cytochrome C, and I'm also getting increased electron supply because I'm releasing fatty acid from fat stores. And finally, one more added bonus. Wait, there's more. The other benefit, which comes more from Ayurvedic knowledge, is called Brahma Muhurta. And Brahma Muhurta is otherwise known as the ambrosial hours, where it's thought that those are the best hours for us to meditate. So those ambrosia hours just before dawn is when they're thought to be most optimal for either relaxation or communicating, or attempting to improving on communicating with a divine intelligence. And now interestingly, and I didn't know this until recently, but in the Star Wars series, the theory was that the Jedi Knights, who had increased physical powers, increased mental powers, and it was thought that they were able to get these increased powers because they had way more midichlorians in their body. Now, midichlorians in the Star Wars series were tiny little cells which lived in the cells of the Jedi Knights, which acted in synergy with those cells to give them greater powers. So you can see an obvious reference there to the mitochondria. So the Jedi Knights apparently had higher levels of what they called midichlorians, we might call mitochondria, which gave them their extra powers. And it may be that during the ambrosial hours before dawn, our mitochondria, which we do know communicate with the outside world through electromagnetic frequencies and biophotons, the light they produce, it may be that that time of day is where they're able to communicate most effectively and efficiently with the outside world. All right, that's it from me, from Kensington Gardens in London. There'll be a lot more short updates while I'm on my European pilgrimage. Oh, and remember, as the Navy SEALs say, no matter how much it hurts, how dark it gets, you are never out of the fight. Don't give up. I'll put some of the references at the end of the video, and also the medical disclaimer. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, maybe share it, maybe subscribe, because that helps get the information out there about getting outside as much as we can, particularly at sunrise and at sunset. Peace and love. Bye. And remember that after nearly 6 years, I remain suspended in nutritional environmental medicine and can only work as an emergency specialist in a public hospital. So none of this is health or medical advice, and certainly does not replace a professional relationship with your own healthcare provider. And just because I go jumping in freezing cold water doesn't mean anybody else should without adequate training in the hormetic principles of contrast therapy.
Endlessly, it's endless. For folks like us, a boring old office just won't do. So we found a mountain waterfall.